and we can press play. So I'm Emmeline Reed. I'm on the business operations team here at Semsee. I'm very excited to help get all of you set up to quote with your own direct markets and the Advantage Partners markets through our partnership with Advantage Partners. And I'll let Andrew introduce that a little bit.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining today's training session with our Advantage Partners and Semsee is the partnership. Today's session will be very brief and I'll tell you all the benefits that you can enjoy from using the system going forward, and any questions that comes in our way after or during, you can leave it in a chat or ask us in the later part of the training through our Q&A. Yeah, thanks again for joining today's meeting, and back to you.
Yeah, and just a quick introduction. I'm Drew. I work on the business operations team with Emmeline. So as a heads up, if you're ever using the platform and you have questions, we're two of the people who will be answering them. So we love those. Reach out anytime. And I'll turn it back over to Emmeline, who will give you a quick overview of the platform and then walk through a demo so you can see what it actually looks like to submit a quote on Semsee.
Thanks. Okay, cool. So here at Semsee, we have created a platform that will help you more efficiently get quotes for your small commercial clients by combining the different applications that you would typically be doing with multiple carriers or with your own carriers and sending applications to Advantage Partners. And instead, combining those applications into a single form that you can submit through our platform. When you use Semsee to submit, you're getting real quotes. So these aren't indications based on ratings tables. What we're doing is really sending the information through to the carrier portal, creating a client record, and producing a real quote for you to view back in the Semsee platform. We also have an Accord download feature. So if you have the need to have an updated Accord for your client, you can generate and download those from the Semsee platform. So we're really helping you cut down that redundant rekeying data entry of the same information in multiple places. Something that's special about the Semsee platform is that you can get quotes with your own directly appointed markets, and at the same time, you can get quotes from markets that Advantage Partners is helping you access. And so you're able to sort of compare side by side your own directly appointed markets and what we call inherited markets in the Semsee platform, doing a single application to get all of those quotes. And instead of just showing you the price that you're getting back from these carriers, we're also going to help you compare the coverages so that you have the whole view of what is out there for your client when you're helping them select the policy that's right for them. We've currently integrated with a number of carriers. We have almost all of the major national carriers, along with some of the sort of super regional and regional carriers. And if you see an asterisk next to the carrier on the screen, those are markets that you'll be able to access via Advantage Partners if you are not directly appointed yourself. We're also always working hard to add new carriers to our platform. So here is a selection of the markets that we're working on adding to Semsee. If there are markets that you're directly appointed with that you don't see on either of our lists, definitely let us know, because agent input is an important way that we uncover and decide how to and which carriers to reach out to next to integrate with the Semsee platform. So if you're at this webinar, it's because you saw our landing page where you could request to be onboarded. You may or may not have decided to do that, but if you did request to be onboarded, you will receive a link soon that helps you get set up in Semsee. If you didn't request it and you wanted to see the webinar first, we'll follow up with a link where you can request to get onto Semsee after this webinar. And once you do get started, we'd love to hear your feedback. So anytime you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can send us an email at support@semsee.com with questions, feedback, comments, requests. We're really excited for that kind of thing. And so once you do receive the onboarding link from us, which will be sent in an email, you'll go through a quick onboarding form that will help you set up your agency in the Semsee platform. And so the first thing that you'll do is enter your agency's basic information. So the name of your agency and the location. You'll set up your own agent profile into the Semsee platform. So you'll confirm your name, your email address, you can add your phone number, and you'll also set your password. And you'll be able to use your email address and the password that you set in this onboarding workflow to log into the Semsee platform for the first time. And then you'll also select the markets that you are directly appointed with. So these are markets that you would then be able to quote using the Semsee platform after you select them here. And it's important to note that these are carriers that you have a direct appointment with or have your own contract with. The markets that Advantage Partners is able to provide to you will then be added to your profile after you select your directly appointed carriers. You don't have to quote with your directly appointed carriers in the Semsee platform. It's not required, but we do think that it's a good efficiency gain to quote them side by side, so we would recommend it. And after this, you'll be dropped into the Semsee platform, which I will show you now. So can you guys see the Semsee dashboard now? Yes. Okay, cool. So this is what it looks like when you get into Semsee for the first time. And as the sort of first time admin user, one thing that you'll need to do is go to your admin settings, where you'll be able to add the agency codes that you have for your directly appointed carriers. And so I'll open one up so you can see what that looks like. So my agency in this example is directly appointed with Acuity, and we have 2 agency codes. As the admin user, I would be able to add these here. I can give them a label, which is going to help my agents in the agency know which code to use when they're quoting. I can also select which one is the primary code for my agency, and that just means that will be defaulted when there's a new application in the platform. So I need to do this for my directly appointed carriers. For any of the carriers that I'm accessing via Advantage Partners, I don't need to do anything. All of that is going to be automatically done in Semsee. For the sort of regular user getting started for the first time, all that they need to do is go to their settings to add their carrier credentials. So they would come to their user settings, they would click Add New Carrier, select a carrier from the dropdown, and then add the username and password that they, in this example, would use to log into the Utica National Agent Portal. And the reason that we need this sort of setup information, so that the agency codes and your username and password, is because when we're submitting to your directly appointed carriers, all that we're doing is helping you more efficiently get the information that you've put into the Semsee platform into your carrier portals. So we're not interfering with your relationship with the carrier at all. You remain the broker of record. Your commissions stay exactly the same. It's attributed to you and your agency. We're just helping make the process more efficient. On this page, you can also add your contact at the carrier. This could be the small commercial underwriter that you work with at Utica National in this example. It's not required. The only thing that you have to add is your username and password, and then you'll be able to quote with that carrier in Semsee. Once you've come in and added all of your markets or your carriers to the Semsee platform, one thing that we'd recommend that you do is add your presets. So presets are available for questions where we know agents are typically answering them in the same way for most of their clients. So if I'm almost always going to use the same answer for these questions, I can come and set them in the presets. And when I start a new application, these answers will be pre-filled for me. So I don't need to select these sort of standard answers for every application. If I wanted to in a particular application, I would be able to select a different value. So if I wanted a higher or lower liability property damage deductible, for example, I would be able to change that for the particular client I was quoting. So I'm not locked in. It just makes it faster for me to review and change as needed rather than having to select these default answers for every client. Once I've added my markets and set up my presets, I can start an application from anywhere in the platform by clicking on this plus sign in the top corner. And I'm going to create an application for Pink Olive, which is a stationery store. You can see that we've quoted Pink Olive a number of times before because it appears as an existing client. And if I selected one of those, some of the previous information that I had input in Semsee for this client would fill into the application for me. So maybe this is a risk that's come up for renewal and I need to remarket it, or I didn't win the risk last year and I'd like to try again. I would be able to requote them pretty easily. If I scroll down, I'll also see Google business listings. So we pull these in from an integration with Google. If I select one, I'll see some of the basic information that's available in their business listing. And I could actually link right to the Google Maps page to see the address as well. It's reminding me that this is an existing client, so I'll go ahead and select one of those. Up front in the Semsee form, we're going to select the NAICS code that's applicable to this risk. If I wanted to, I could search for a different code. and we have a smart search functionality. So for example, if I'm looking for a pizza restaurant, I can type in pizza and it's going to bring up every NAICS code where not only the description, but all of the subdescriptions could include a relevant keyword. I'll just stick with stationary stores for now because that is actually true. I have a couple of additional questions on this page. One that I'd like to draw your attention to is the multi-location question. Semsee currently doesn't support quoting multi-location risks, although we are working very hard to add that to the platform in the next quarter. So be on the lookout for that. In the meantime, what agents have told us is that they'll use Semsee to get the bulk of the initial information in the primary location, and then they'll go into the carrier portals to add additional locations. But just something to note, you can't add currently multiple locations in the Semsee platform. As I move on, I'm asked for some more basic information about my client. I'll say the mailing address is the primary business location. If it were not, I would just be asked for the primary risk state for appetite. The mailing address we can pull in from the Google Maps integration or from a previous application, although I could edit it if I wanted to. And of course, you would be able to type it in manually if it didn't pull up from one of those places. And the contact information for my client has also pulled in from my previous application. I can select the policy types that I'd like to quote now. I can select any combination of policy types that I would like, and it's all going to collapse that into a single form for me. I can also select the accords that I'd like to have on this stage. And when I do that, it's going to generate an accord form for me based on the answers that I've input in the Semsee form. So we've mapped the carrier questions to the different accord fields, and we've also added optional accord only questions to help you get that really complete application. And I'd be able to download these in a fully editable PDF format at the end of my application process. For now, I will just pick BOP. And I can select the carriers that I'd like to quote with. There are a couple of things that I'd like to draw your attention to on this page. One is that if this risk is going to be out of appetite because the carrier is not writing risks in that state, we'll let you know. So Acuity, for example, is not writing BOP in New York State. And so I wouldn't want to select them because it would be a waste of my time. You'll also notice on this page that I can select markets that I'm accessing via my demo parent agency for my demo retail agency. So for you, that would be markets that you're accessing via Advantage Partners. And I can select those alongside my own directly appointed carriers. Another thing to notice is that we're working on mapping the upfront NAICS code that we selected to all of the different carrier specific business classifications. And so for Guard, for example, because we selected the stationary stores NAICS, Semsee is suggesting to me the 2 Guard codes that match the most for me to select from. As I move through the rest of the carriers, I can see that there are others where it's suggesting to me a match. If there wasn't a match found, or if I decided I'd like to search myself, I would be able to search in all of the carriers available class codes if I wanted to. On this page, I can select as many carriers as I'd like, and then I'll be able to move into the dynamic form. So now Semsee has generated for me a unique dynamic application that's based on the information that I've already input. So things like the location of the risk, the policy type I've selected, the carriers and the carrier specific class codes. And it's gone through our database of thousands of carrier questions and condensed and deduplicated it as much as possible so that I'm presented as the agent with the smallest number of questions that's going to satisfy all of the different carriers' informational requirements. I'm sure that all of you on this call are very familiar with what a commercial application looks like, so I won't go through all of the questions, but there are some features that I'd like to highlight that we think add value or efficiency to the Semsee form. One of those is wherever we haven't been able to fully collapse a question, it's because the carriers are giving you different options, and we want to make sure that you're able to select the most specific and accurate option for each of your markets. But if you pick an option that matches with one that's available for the rest of your carriers, we're going to pre-fill that for you so you don't have to select it multiple times. We also have a question flagging feature. So maybe I'm not sure what the answer to a couple of questions are. I can flag the question by clicking on this little flag icon, and I can move on. So unlike a lot of the carrier portals, I'm not locked in to answering the questions in any particular order. If I click continue, Semsee is going to let me know that I haven't finished all of the required questions on this page. I can stay on the page and it will have dragged me to the first unanswered required question, but I can also continue to the next section of the form. I know I need to go back to my business profile section because it has this little yellow alert. But I can move through the form in any order, answering questions in the way that makes the most sense to me as I go through. And I can also use this left-hand navigation to move to different parts of the form that I want to answer when I'm working. So if I've gone through and flagged questions where I know I need to get back with my client, I could answer the rest of them, and then I can access all of my flagged questions by clicking this button in the top corner. And that's going to bring me to a summary of the questions that I flagged, which I could get my client on the phone and talk through them with them, and I can actually answer them right here. Any answer that I input is going to go back into the main form, so I don't need to worry about transferring this or unflagging. Or I can also copy the questions to my clipboard. So I click this copy questions button, and then I would be able to paste those into an email if that's how I prefer to communicate with my client about this. Something else that I'd like to highlight about the Semsee form is that it's dynamic, which just means that it's going to continue changing based on the answers that you put in. For example, if I say that my client is the sole occupant, you'll notice that a few questions disappeared, and those were questions that were related to the other occupants of the building. So they're no longer relevant to my client if they're the sole occupant. Another feature that we recently added to the Semsee platform is a filter that hides optional questions. So I'll try to find an optional question. There's one. Optional questions are all marked as optional. If it doesn't say optional, you can assume that it's required. And if I click this show only required filter, it's going to hide all those optional questions so I can get through the form more efficiently and skip them if I'd like to. A couple of other things, whenever there's tool text, like an additional explanation for a question, or if you'd like to see which carrier is asking a particular question, you can click on this little question mark next to it. So in this example, there's no explanatory text, but it does let me know that Hanover and Guard are the markets that I've selected who are asking this question. And then the last thing about the Semsee form that I'd like to highlight is our knockout question functionality. So if you answer a question that we know that the carrier is not going to accept, we're going to let you know that that's a knockout for them, and I can take a look at what's available for me to do. I can either continue just knowing that Guard is going to decline the risk based on my answer to this question. I can click remove carriers, and that's going to remove Guard from my application along with all of their questions, so I wouldn't have to answer the rest of them. Or maybe I'll read the question more carefully. Actually, I don't think that my client does these things. I will say no, the alert goes away, and I will hopefully get a quote at the end of my application process. So once I've answered all of the required questions and I have a check mark next to all of the sections of my form over here, I'll be able to submit the information that I've input to my carrier portals for quotes. And let's take a look at what you'll see when you've done that. So this is a different risk, Casey's Garden Shop. We submitted for 3 BOP quotes. We also submitted for workers' comp, and we selected the Accord forms, so I could download those right on this page. And I can get an overview of the whole picture for my client on the quote results page. Semsee uses a couple of different methods to connect to our carriers. We use API, which is a direct computer-to-computer connection, and is extremely fast. It can be almost instantaneous. And we also use RPA, which is robotic processing automation, and it's essentially a robot agent that we've developed to do the application on your behalf. That can take a little bit longer, but it does allow us to connect with carriers for either products or for the carrier in general who don't have an API connection, allowing us to give agents more options for quoting in Semsee. Occasionally, you will get different types of responses. Most of the quotes that we get in Semsee are bindable quotes. And so if you're directly appointed, you'd be able to click view quote and go straight to the carrier portal where you would be able to move forward with binding that for your client if you wanted to. Sometimes the carrier might decline, or it could be an indication that requires referral to underwriting. And so you'll get messaging about that on your quote results screen. And wherever we can, we're going to include additional information that the carrier has provided to us about what has happened with your application. And so if I click on this little message icon for this Markel declination, I can see the reason that Markel has declined. For your BOP quotes, you're also able to compare the coverages that are being offered by your carriers. So I select the quotes I'd like to compare by clicking this little circle in the corner, and then I can click compare quotes. And I'll be brought to this page that has a more in-depth breakdown and the difference in coverage that's being offered by the carriers I've selected. I can actually download this information as either a spreadsheet or a PDF. And if I pick the PDF option, I can choose specifically which line items I want to have included on it. And this is going to download in a nicely formatted document that has your own agency's name and the insured's name at the top of it, along with all the information that you see here. Another thing I can see from my quote results page is an answer summary. So I click this application answers link, and it's going to bring me to a page that has the summary of all of the answers that I submitted to my carriers, which if you wanted to, you could export as a spreadsheet, or you can also filter it by which carrier you're interested in and view all of the, in this example, Hanover question answers that were submitted for this risk. Something that's important to note about quoting with the Advantage Partners markets is that obviously you won't have direct access to the carrier portal. And so you'll need an Advantage Partners team member's help to move forward with a quote that you like for your client. For all of the markets that you're accessing via Advantage Partners, instead of view quote, you would see submit for review. And if I click this button, it's going to pop out this message that tells me what's going to happen. And what's going to happen is that when you click submit for review here, it's going to send an automated email notification to the Advantage Partners team, letting them know that the agent at the agency for this client and this carrier would like to move forward with underwriting and potentially binding the quote that they've received from the carrier. You'll also receive an automated email that summarizes the information that's sent through to the Advantage Partners team. But that's really all that I had to show everyone. So I'm happy to look and see if there are any questions. I see that we've got a few chat messages, so I'll take a look at those. And also feel free to put questions into the Q&A section so that we can take a look at them. So one of the questions was, is there a timeline for implementation of the carriers that we're going to add in the future? And that depends on which carrier it is and what kind of integration we're doing with them. But we're always happy to, if there's a specific carrier that you're interested in, we'd be happy to give you a more specific sort of potential timeframe. And then another question was, are there state-specific accord forms? At the moment, we don't have state-specific accords, but we do have the 125, 126, 140, 160, and 130. Ken is asking how we would get the accords. So when you start a new application, you can select which accords you would like on the policy selection page here. So by clicking this button, it's going to add the accord to my application. And I'll answer the carrier questions. I'll answer a few accord specific questions, and then I'd be able to download those finished accords or populated accords here on the quote results page. So after I've clicked submit on my Semsee application, these accord forms will be available for me to download here. Any other questions that we can help answer?
I saw there was one more on pricing model as well, which I think I accidentally clicked as answered. But the way that will work is we're offering a free 3-month trial for you to try out the platform as much as you want. And then after that, because you're going through Advantage, you're getting a significantly discounted rate. So Andrew, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, I believe the normal rate, if you were to go directly to work with the Semsee, it would be $125 per month. But because of our relationship and partnership with the Semsee, our rates for our member agencies would be $50 a month after 3 months. And there will be access to ours and yours.
Yeah, so we're really excited to be able to offer that to all of you. And just to clarify, that's for unlimited quoting with as many users as you want at your agency. So it's just that one monthly fee and you can use it as much as you'd like.
And then I think maybe a bit of clarification on the Accord forms. I know that for some of the ones that are available on Semsee, there are state-specific versions, and I believe that what we have available are just the generic versions of those Accords. Any other questions? Feel free to let us know. If not, we're very excited to get started and to help you all get set up with the Semsee platform. Be on the lookout for a follow-up email from us that either includes the link to help you get your agency set up or the link where you can request onboarding if you haven't already. We're also happy to do individual demos if you have more questions or would like some more one-on-one time with our team before you decide. So feel free to reach out to us if you'd like to set that up. We can make sure to include a contact information for you if you have additional questions. One more chat came in, let's see. Yes, you'll have contact information to reach us. And we're also happy to always receive your feedback on the Semsee platform. So feel free if you like something, if you don't like something, if you think we should add something, or if there's a carrier you'd love to see on the platform, send it our way. It really helps us make sure that we're developing the best possible tool for our agent users.
And if you have any other questions that's related to or unrelated to, either way, reach out to me, myself, or Brandon Conway, who's marketing of ours, and also Margaret or Sid or Dale, depends on where you are. We're here to help. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone so much for your time this morning. Like I said, be on the lookout for a follow-up from our team. And I hope that we have answered your questions and gotten you excited about using Semsee. We're very excited for you to join us.
Thank you, everyone.